if you know what you're looking for, AI will get you there way, way faster. But if you just ask AI to do it for you, it might not be the best result. It'll be a decent result, but it'll be average and it'll be like everybody else. But if you really know what you're looking for and you really understand your customer and you've really given AI all it needs, now you're going to move way beyond your competition.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with John Munsell, CEO at Bizzuka. John, how are you this morning?
I am great, Andrew. How about yourself? Good to be on the show.
Excellent. I appreciate you spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. Please tell us a bit about yourself and about Bizzuka.
Well, how far back do you want to go?
I don't think you remember the womb, but we can,
That's right. We don't go that far back. No. I've spent like 16 years in financial services and eventually ejected to start a software company in Tampa back in '97 to join into the foray that was the web when it started. And gradually we grew into a digital marketing agency. And once again, I kind of saw a new frontier opening up in AI. So we sold off the digital marketing side of our agency and then spent the next year trying to figure out what problem we could solve for the market in AI. And while doing that, I got to know AI pretty intimately. And then we started an AI coaching and consulting company, built a lot of frameworks because we were just using it literally 14 hours a day doing different things. And so here we are. We are now a AI consulting and training company, and our sole mission is to help businesses upskill their employees so they retain more and are more profitable and more efficient.
Excellent. When was that pivot? When did you become an AI-focused business?
Well, let's see. We sold off the digital marketing side of the company in 2021.
Okay.
And then I spent that next year and a half. Like I said, originally I thought I was going to be a fractional CMO. And so I was using AI to do a whole lot of work in the copywriting side of things. And then when ChatGPT came out, I was like, oh, this is cool. They've now taken the guardrails off. And so you can actually do more than just write copy with AI. So that was, what was that, 2022 and change, something like that. And then as we started to, I originally landed 2 clients as a fractional CMO and then quickly realized that I had just traded the job that I didn't want for the same job. So that's when I was like, actually, more people are interested in how to leverage AI. And it was really kind of funny because when I was acting as the fractional CMO, I was moving everything for each of those clients into AI so that they could move faster. And that, again, is where I started to realize, okay, this is a whole lot more fun. And it's really where the market needs to be. And that's kind of what everybody else was saying too. So I started this thing called the CXO AI Roundtable, where every Friday I would teach somebody new stuff about AI. And that group grew to where we went from having 4 or 5 people in a meeting to 45 or 50 people in a meeting. And that, again, is kind of where I fine-tuned everything and realized that if you really want to teach people how to use AI, you have to have a common level of understanding. So everybody in your organization understands it the same way. And then you also have to have a common framework for how you prompt AI. So everybody is building their prompts the same way and everybody could understand it. And you have now shareable and scalable knowledge. So that was kind of the the tack that we took is, look, I needed to do it with my own team. I needed everybody to do it. So if they would say, oh, I can't get AI to do this, I could look at their prompt and they're like, okay, well, you need to swap this out for this, and then it'll work. So that's basically how it all came to being. Hopefully I haven't just totally talked in circles, but
Not at all. Not at all. Now, your background in the financial world, was that on the marketing side of things or on the tech side of things?
it was in the banking side of things.
Oh,
Yeah. I started off in banking, spent 10 years in banking. I first 5 years were in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And then I moved to Clearwater to manage a small bank there, a small branch that was not doing well. And so they hired me to turn it around. And so at that particular point, I did two things that were kind of interesting. One, at the bank in Baton Rouge, we had created a software application to analyze commercial financial statements, give us all the ratios so we could make good, clean lending decisions. When I moved to Clearwater, they didn't have one of these tools. So another buddy of mine who also worked at the same bank in Baton Rouge, he had moved to Orlando. And I called him up. I said, Dean, you still have that software that we wrote? It was a Lotus 1-2-3 app, if you're familiar with that. It was a Lotus 1-2-3 spreadsheet. He still had it. I got a copy of it. I made it all full of macros and stuff to automate stuff, and then gave it to our president and CEO at the bank, and their heads exploded because they'd never seen anything like that. And they were so thrilled with it. I called my buddy Dean and I said, hey, that we could probably sell this to banks. And he's like, really? And I'm like, well, you want to do that? So we joined forces, and every weekend he'd come over to our apartment and we would grind out working on this thing. I bought some material from a guy named Jay Abraham, if you're familiar with that name. So Jay Abraham is probably one of the world's most well-known direct response copywriters and marketing geniuses. He had some material back then called Your Marketing Genius at Work. I bought it. It was like $500, which was hell a lot of money for back then. This was like in 92, I think. And anyway, I binge read that stuff over a couple of weekends, and that taught me how to write copy. Now, keep in mind, there was no web. So in order for us to sell this, we had to do direct mail. So I had to learn how to write sales copy, learn how to write a headline, learn how to get a list, mail it out to banks. And the most important thing I learned was how to test pricing. And so we sent out pricing to all these different parts of the country, and we ended up selling it at a price that was 5 times what we thought we could sell it for. And we got 5 times as many people to buy it that we thought we would actually do. So it was a riot. You write all this stuff up, you run over to Kinko's, make all the copies, fold them up, shove them into an envelope, mail them, and then sit there and wait and see if checks showed up in the mail in a couple of weeks. It was a riot.
I don't think this generation has any idea what you're talking about at this point.
No. Yeah,
So-
just think of it as doing email marketing, but having to wait 3 weeks before anybody replied, and they would have to reply with can you take my money? Because there's no way to swipe a credit card either.
Did that approach kind of become an industry standard and start in terms of having an algorithm to safely and quickly assess business lending and things like that?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the actual software, or are you talking about the marketing approach?
No, I mean the software and its approach to leveling the playing field for banks and
For
lenders.
banks. Well, so there were software applications out there that were selling for $1,500, $2,000. And keep in mind, this is like in the early 90s. So, for a bank, that was a big investment. There was this other company called Parsons Technology that was selling these little bitty applications. I called them little bitty applications. They were one-offs, like an amortization schedule or, goofy stuff, a recipe generator. I mean, weird stuff. And they were selling them for $49, $49, $69. And that's where I thought, oh man, these guys are crushing selling these $49, $69 programs. So I was telling Dean, let's go sell ours for $49. But that's when we started to test. So we tested, what did we test? 49, 89, 149, 249, 349, 549. Buckshot at them. And 249 outsold the rest 5-1. which was crazy. Again, we thought we were going to sell it for 49 because Parsons Technology did. Well, Parsons Technology, I don't know whether you ever recall the name or not. Well, it was owned by a guy named Bob Parsons. Bob Parsons is the guy who started and owns GoDaddy. So he did pretty well.
He did pretty well.
He did pretty well. But
Well, hey,
anyway,
trying to
it
sell
was
something
cool.
for $50, there's this perception of
There's and
less
that's why,
than.
yeah, exactly. And that's why I think 249 actually worked, because it was about, I don't know, a quarter of what, discounted at the higher thing, it's like 20% of what a regular thing would cost. But at $50, it was like 5% of what the competition would cost. So there's that. But at 249, there's it's cheap enough to take a flyer on this thing. And a whole lot of people did it. And so it was really, really interesting. It was probably the most fun I've ever had. But of course, it's a nail biter, because when you spend all that money, you mail it all out there, and you're just kind of sitting and wondering if anything will show up, and then checks start coming. It's really kind of funny. It was fun. I wonder if you could do that today, though. Probably not. But
I think we're all so numbed out to what comes in the mail physically these days that if we don't know where it's coming from, it's spam. And I don't know what percentage of direct mailing really works in 2025.
Well, here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if the pendulum isn't going to swing in the other direction again. And here's why. I'm looking at my inbox right now. I have 150 unread emails and 250 unreads in the junk folder, and probably another 100 that got blocked from even getting there, right?
Yep.
That's all within the last 2.5 hours. All right. So I'm getting inundated with garbage, and AI makes that happen at an infinitely greater level, right? That's the big problem. So as people start to use AI, there are good uses and maybe irritating uses. And one of the irritating uses is stuff that we would all use, which is, let's write emails at scale and blast it all out. All right. There are two things with that. First of all, if you don't know how to write good copy, then your copy is going to look like everybody else's, and it's all going to look, gross and get thrown in the can. So somebody has to have the sense to figure out, how do I actually approach, email and get through the junk folders? Now, when I go out and I look at all what's in my mailbox, whether it's outside or in a PO box or whatever, it's down to this. It used to be like that thick every day. It's literally down to this. So I'm starting to think that, maybe
There's an opportunity there. Yeah.
might be coming back. It's not as cluttered. And we're getting ready to do some interesting things. And I'll happily tell you how it works out, Andrew. But, I just finished publishing this book. Okay. So what I want to do with the book is I want to use it to approach our top 100. If you're familiar with that concept of a top 100, we identify the top 100 prospects that we really want to get into, because we really think we could make a difference in their company's life, and it would have an impact on ours. So we're going to actually take the book. I've already written a GPT that'll do all this stuff. We analyze the prospect, right? We understand what they do. We understand the pains and problems they potentially have and the problems that we could solve. The GPT then goes through the book and says, if you'll highlight this piece, and this piece inside the book, and I have it where we can write little yellow stickies, and it even tells me what to write on the yellow sticky. And so then we'll highlight all that, tag pages in the book, and then we'll either hand deliver it to the people on the top 100, or we'll snail mail it. Now, when the gatekeeper gets a piece of lumpy mail, they typically will hand it over. Sometimes they'll open up and, it's just a bunch of pens with our logo on it. Throw those out. But if it's a book, and the book has a bunch of sticky notes attached to it, and the book has sticky notes that have handwriting on it, they're going to go, oh, this was not meant for me. It'll get to the decision maker. So anyway, that's where I'm thinking that we might be swinging our pendulum in the other direction.
Well,
There's your ninja trick for the day. I'll tell you how it turns out.
hey, don't save a tree, I think is what you're trying to say. Well, hey, let's circle back to Bizzuka. Tell us a little more about the services you provide, what verticals you're working with, what size companies you deal best with.
Sure. We typically deal with companies that have 20 to 2,000 employees.
That's a wide berth.
Yeah, it's a wide berth, but it's even wider because we also deal with companies that have 5 employees in them, and we have several one-man bands who go through our training. What we're really trying to do is have impact on the workforce, okay? Because they always say that your job won't be replaced by AI; it'll be replaced by somebody who knows AI. I also know that as an employer, I really don't want to replace my employees. I would rather, because they already know my culture, my processes, and everything else, and they've been part of our team. They're part of our family. I would rather just spend a little bit of time and get them up to speed on how to execute and how to think with AI as a partner than I would go find some new person who knows AI and bring them into the fold. And now I have to spend another year and a half acclimating them to our business. So I think actually the stats show that it's 7 times more expensive to replace an employee than it is to just simply upskill them. And so that's what we're trying to provide is that mechanism. And the other thing is you got to think about this, Andrew. Most people think that AI was invented in 2023 when ChatGPT came out, right? And so what we're trying to say is, look, you could bring somebody in from the outside, but how much better could they possibly be? Because it's only been, a couple of years. But we can teach your employees in a matter of 2 to 6 weeks how to outperform somebody who's been working with it for 2+ years. So I think, that's an edge that most people don't really fully understand. If you just train somebody the right way, literally in 2 to 6 weeks, they can outperform somebody who's been using AI for 2 years or so.
That makes so much sense. I mean, we're in a day and age where everybody's wearing 10 hats. The
Yeah.
expectation of efficiency is almost inhumane because they know we have these tools at our disposal. So, oh, wait, we don't need a whole department for that. You can do all of that, can't you? And making people comfortable with it, getting their feet under them is got to be invaluable for your clients.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely is. And the speed at which AI is advancing is incredible. So you can't really sit on this. You as a business owner, you really need to get your head wrapped around it. And I know some business owners are afraid, but it's that fear that is what should drive you to get people trained. Because if you don't train them, then man, they could put some really sensitive stuff inside of an LLM that all of a sudden the world has access to. We don't want that happening, right? What we really want is them to learn how to use AI more than just as a fast typewriter. We want them to use it as a thought partner. And I mean, the stuff that you can do just from that perspective is mind-boggling, especially as some of these newer models keep getting better. Like, I don't know, we spent so much time talking about ChatGPT and Claude that I think people are ignoring tools like Perplexity and Grok and Gemini. Gemini 2.5 Pro is really impressive. All of them are very, very impressive. Llama just came out with something that has this massive context window. So you just need to know what to use and when, and how to make sure that your workforce is using them the right way. And when you do that, like we've had people take things that used to take them 1 to 2 weeks, and they're now doing them in 1 to 2 hours, and it's phenomenal. Right?
Hey, the advancements in chip technology are exponentially faster than they used to be, to the point where this can be delivered so efficiently and so quickly. Again, was it DeepSeek, the Chinese company that
Yeah.
splashed the market, and all of a sudden all these tech stocks tanked? Kind of a knee-jerk reaction. They didn't have a new LLM. They just had a faster, more efficient chip, and were delivering it so quickly. People were, wait, what is going on here? But
Yeah.
hey, we're in a reactive time, especially in the tech sector. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
What What's the biggest differentiator for Bazooka? What makes you stand out among your competitors? And I assume there are other companies trying to carve out some
Oh,
space.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Look, there are lots of people in the AI training space. I think where we differ is that we have our own unique framework and our own unique processes. And we have this thing that we call the AI transformation roadmap. And the idea is that we want to first get everybody at the executive team level aligned and understanding what are the possibilities. What we don't want to do is have a system where we just teach people why it's important, Oh, well, that should be a given, right? What we want to do is teach people how to execute. So we're not going to be sitting people through a robotics course or the history of LLMs or any of that stuff. We're literally just going right into here's how you execute with incredible precision and efficiency and accuracy, and here's how you do it at scale. Not only that, but we have this thing that we call the AI skills builder, where everybody in the organization learns 3 foundational things the same way. So now everybody speaks the same language. So we teach them security, safety, and ethics. We teach them the AI strategy canvas, which is our canvas and our framework for understanding how to develop AI strategy, how to develop AI initiatives, and how to actually write scalable prompts, which brings me to the third layer, which is scalable prompt engineering. It's a unique methodology for prompting the AI so that everybody can see it the same way and quickly acclimate themselves to how you prompt. And they can take these little variables and swap out a variable for another variable, and the rest of the prompt stays the same. And so now you can get it to execute something differently or in a different manner. And then we go into applications, so AI applications for your specific role. So everybody has the same understanding at that initial layer, but then HR goes down a skills path for themselves. Legal goes down their own. Customer service goes down their own. Sales goes down their own. Marketing goes down their own, right? And so we teach them how to execute AI in their role rather than in a generic method. And at the end of each one, we have what we call a capstone project. So they have to build an AI automation. Actually, it's a custom GPT or a Gemini Gem or a Claude project that solves one of their problems or their repetitive problems in their job. And so that tells us that they learned the principles and they're now doing something infinitely faster than they used to. So everybody that goes through the training, you get an immediate ROI on, right? So they're instantly doing something better and faster and more effectively.
now, when you engage with these companies for a few weeks at a time, do you find yourselves fielding tech support calls over the long haul, or is there a length to the relationship, or it's an intense
Yeah.
and that's sort of
So that's a really good question. So what we do is when you go through our training, you not only go through a recorded set of training programs, but you also join our online community. And in the community, you can post questions and we can have a dialogue there. But we also have weekly office hours, actually a couple of times a week. So we have live office hours. So you go through the work, you have a question, you come to the office hours, we help you work through all of those things. And when you do your capstone project, once again, you're working with us live as well. So we want to make sure that you know what you're doing, you're executing with precision, and you're simplifying your own job. That's what makes it different. Like we're kicking off a company this week that wants us to train potentially 100 employees. We're kicking off the first 25, and then we're also training 4 people in their organization to manage all the other people that come through the skills builder, so that they essentially become the first line of questions it reduces the costs to them, but they're going to want internal expertise anyway. So we're building that train the trainer program at the same time everybody goes through the AI skills builder series.
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, it's a thorough approach, and that they don't feel left hanging after you're done with your intensive. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, it's just more efficient, Andrew, because what happens is employees are busy, right? They're busy, and what you don't want to do is pull everybody off the line at the exact same time and shove them through some kind of a workshop or boot camp or webinar or whatever it is. You can't shut your company down that way. But if you give them access to where they can go at their own pace, some will binge watch and go through it in 2 weeks, and we'll work with them on their capstone, and others might take 6, depends on how busy they are. But the bottom line is, as an employer, you're letting your employees run at their own pace without really disrupting the work. And at the end of it, that they're going to be doing stuff way more efficiently. And because they're all part of a community, they get to share knowledge with themselves. So it's a way better
Rising
mousetrap.
tide lifting all the boats. Gotcha.
There you go. That's exactly right.
All right. Put on your marketing hat for a second. What role has content played in the growth of Bizzuka? How are you telling your story?
Oh, man, you know what? Content is years ago, I made the statement, look, if content is king, then conversion is queen. Because realistically, content without conversion is pointless. Conversion without content is virtually impossible, right? So content is critical. You have to learn how to write your content so that you get a conversion. You need to think about what that conversion is and what do you expect that to do. With AI, search is changing rapidly, which means SERPs, search engine results pages, are changing as well, because with Google they're now using AI at the top of the search, but you have a lot of people like me who are using Perplexity, they're using search inside of ChatGPT, they're using search inside of maybe Claude, maybe Grok, whatever. So they're not just searching with Google. Not only that, but what are they searching for? They're searching with big old sentences trying to solve a problem, and they want AI to help them solve that problem. So what you have to do is you've got to learn how to write the right kinds of content. You have to learn how to write the right kinds of blog posts. And those blog posts, if you do it the right way, they'll be actually consumed by AI tools. And when you do a search on an AI tool or a question on an AI tool, your site could be referenced. But you need to know how to use the appropriate AI tools to write that, or at least assist with the writing. And the better you get at that, the faster things will go for you. But there are 2 things that I always say. If you don't know what excellence looks like, you'll always get average or below out of AI. You have to know what excellence looks like. And the other thing is you have to understand your own customer's journey. And we do an extended customer journey. We go all the way back from symptom recognition, all the way through championing your company for you, right? When you know that journey, then you start to figure out, okay, what is the problem they're recognizing here? And what are they searching for? What are the answers they want? You can also do that in the sales process, where you're saying, what are the questions that we constantly get asked in the sales process? Well, write a blog post about that. When you walked me through your tool, I was really impressed with that, because that allows us to actually do this at a much more rapid scale, right? So the simplicity is super helpful, but you're still going to need somebody who knows and thinks like, okay, what is my customer really searching for? And your tool really helps come up with some ideas on what to write about and how to speed up that writing process, you know?
Well, thank you for the unsolicited endorsement. I'll take that. Hey,
Happy to.
that's why we call it human-assisted AI content generation. You know
Yeah.
better than anyone. AI is an incredible tool, but you still need perspective and human input, and we have to steward the content, especially in that context.
Yeah, look, if you know how to get, if you know what you're looking for, AI will get you there way, way faster. But if you just ask AI to do it for you, it might not be the best result. It'll be a decent result, but it'll be average and it'll be like everybody else. But if you really know what you're looking for and you really understand your customer and you've really given AI all it needs, now you're going to move way beyond your competition.
Absolutely. Amen. So, look ahead a year from now. What are some things you'd like to be celebrating personally and professionally?
Personally, I'd like to take a vacation. I haven't had one in like 5 years. I've been grinding on this.
Remember that word so clearly. Yeah.
Right. Professionally, our goal is to at least by the end of a year from now have helped upskill somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 5,000 employees. And I think, if I could do that, then I'll feel pretty good. If we can get, it might not be that we had personally trained them. Maybe it's that many have gone through the book and they're starting to implement on their own with the book. I think that would be fabulous. But I just really want to get feedback from the people that we work with that they were able to retain 100% of their employees, and they're making as much money as they have before, if not more. I just don't want to be part of a world where all of our surrounding companies are laying off, 40%, 50% of their staff. So I really am hopeful that we can help our companies retain as many employees as possible and, really do well.
Excellent. Hey, lofty and noble goals. Please tell us what's your URL? Where can people find Bizzuka, and what social media outlets are you using as well?
So primarily we're on LinkedIn, and I know that we're on Facebook and a couple other things. We're at Bizzuka, BIZZUKA.com, also at ingrain.ai. Ingrain.ai is where you can learn more about the book and the processes and our frameworks. And that's kind of it.
Excellent. John Munsell, thank you for spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. All the best to you and yours. May that goal of a vacation finally happen, and continued success at Bizzuka and with your book.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I appreciate you having me on the show.
A distinct pleasure. Be well.
You too.